and he was cool, and he used to help us out and tell us to not be stupid and sit down and shut up and you're drunk, go home, and stuff like that. Like very early on. But no, so yeah, I don't think you should bullshit people. Life's too short. I mean, don't tell people what they want to hear, because you get found out anyway. And I think people respect it, even if they don't like it. At least it's real,
No, right on. And just for you to say that and to feel that, of course, that's just been a fun debate within the community for so long. I mean, this is stuff that's still we're talking about daily. I've been doing kind of like fun comparisons lately on my social media of it's weird how certain tracks from 1 and 2 are like parallel to each other. How, track 2 on both albums are both an Izzy driven song. Like, it's just a weird, so it's just like, it's still debate. People still say, one album. And for me, like, we don't have a lot of music. The more music that's out there, I'm just grateful for. So it's not that I'm okay with it.
But that's what went down, and that's all that.
That's both are great stories. I mean, those are phenomenal. But you to be in these positions, yeah.
But the weird thing was, once we were like in 2005, the Gypsy Pistloeros formed. Once I'd come back from after the Ramones tour, we came back, and we were in a band called White Trash. Long story. We were signed to Noise Records, who had Halloween. I don't know if you heard of them. And,
Halloween, of course, they're awesome.
Yeah,
Beavis and Butthead introduced me to Halloween.
Really, but we had a £120,000 deal that went down the tube due to the fact that Claudia, who ran the company, all the contracts were sent off. They were due to be sent back, and her husband decided to divorce her and took the company over and dropped 15 bands, including us, and signed Manhole from LA.
Okay.
Who did nothing.
Hence my face of okay.
And it was like, okay, yeah. So that was the end of that one. But yeah, 2005 we got together and we decided to do this weird shit called flamenco, rumba, rock and roll, whatever it is. And
I love it. It's great.
And we went out with, I don't even know how we got on to like, oh yes, I do. In Spain, we used to know a promoter called Robert Mills. And while we were over there, we supported UFO, Nazareth, Black Sabbath, Dio, Motorhead, Alvin Lee, The Cramps, Sepultura, and a few others on tour during 92 to 94. 94 we were sort of over there for. And so I knew him. So when I got this new band together, I said, like, anyone you got that we can support, Robert? We're back in the UK at this point. And he went, I've got Adler's Appetite, Steve Adler, his new band. And I went, cool, we'll do it. And it was, wow. They were big. I mean, they were getting like 3,000 per show. And for the first couple of shows, it was brilliant. I mean, they had on guitar, they had Michael Thomas, JT Longoria from the Juju Hounds. He was a lovely guy. We loved him. They had Chips Enough on bass, and a guy called Sheldon Tarsha singing, who became Chris Nichols, who sang for Quiet Riot for a couple of whatever. Anyway, and it was a really tight band. They were shit hot. And for about 4 shows, it was brilliant. They were going down great. I mean, it was sounding amazing. And then it sort of started to fall a bit apart. JP, the tour manager, was trying to look after old Stevie. Man, he said in 5 nights, he'd lost 7 hotel cards, keys, whatever. And we just find him wandering about in his pajamas, running out into the night. And we found him in a bar down the road the one night, and he just had a massive wad of dollar bills. I mean, you're talking freaking thousands of dollars. And we went like, and he's like, oh yeah. And we went, dude, don't put that away. And he became a bit uncontrollable during that time. It was, and after about, I think 6 gigs in, we were due in Belgium and Germany, and it just fell apart. The rest of the band walked out. I think he ended up playing with an Italian Guns N' Roses
cover band.
tribute band.
Yeah.
And it was just awful. They asked us, "Oh, do you want to support Adler? Do you want to like play? Do you want to be like?" And we're like, "No, what the fuck?" So it all fell apart. But it was a shame. He was a lovely guy, Stevie. It was just like, because you know better than I do. What was he, 17 when Guns N' Roses became massive?
I think he was older than that, but it's I mean, like 18,
when they
19.
first began,
Yeah, sure.
you know.
So, sure. Because he and Slash went to high school together.
So when you think about when you've lived in a bubble that long of being looked after, and once that's gone and you're out on the road on your own, as it were, it must have been a real culture shock. But he needed looking after big time, and there was no one really to look after him. It was, but it was cool. It was like he had this kit set up, and I remember him walking into the sound check. And he went like, "No, we can't do this. The audience want to see me." So he just parted the toms so he could see through, and played beautifully. It didn't matter where his toms were. He just played fantastically anyway, and it was like, wow. But
he was
lovely
a
guy.
Player. There was no doubt he was a good player.
Oh, he was. No, but even like completely, when we saw him in like some states, he was still spot on drumming wise, which surprised us. Do you know what I mean? From the stories. But no, he was great. I mean, I think the last time we saw him was in 2008 when we played Rocklahoma, and he was playing drums for the Bullet Boys or something, doing like a little spot. And he had two minders with him. And we walked in, we were like, "Yo, Stevie, how you doing?" And it was like he was just out of rehab, and so we were not allowed within 10 yards of him.
Oh, jeez.
And it was that's a shame. He's a lovely guy.
Well, I mean, flash forward. I mean,
fine now.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, we tell these stories, and it's hard to believe. And thankfully, we can believe in 2020, the guy's doing well. His band was doing really well and well received. So, you know, he's posted during quarantine. You know, checking in on everybody. He seems to be in a really good place now, and I know he's had some spots. You know, in front of the Guns N' Roses Not in This Lifetime crowd, which is a thrill for him and fans alike. So it's we hear these stories, and hopefully now I'm sure. I don't know the guy, but as an addict myself, I mean, 5 years. December will be 5 years without a drink. It's like,
well done, dude.
Well done.
You want,
well done, man.
You want, thanks. You kind of, these things are a part of your history, and at least like you can kind of show people who may be struggling. You know, I think those stories are an example of like how bad it was, and we can come out of it.
Yeah.
You know, we unfortunately have, you know, plenty of examples where it doesn't happen, have a happy ending. So more power to Steven Adler. I mean, now hopefully they're just silly rock stories, you know, about just silliness, and that's we can look at it just like that if it has a happy ending, I guess.
And importantly, who won the fight between you and Slash?
Oh, mate, I had him by his hair.
Are you a dirty fighter? You're a dirty fighter.
Did you bite him?
I fight dirty. But afterwards, the strange thing was like, because they're a big band at this point. I mean, like it's just before Use Your Illusion comes out, and afterwards, Lemmy said, he said, "You do realize like the security guards, they've all got guns, dude. We're in America now. They've got guns." Lead, and then it's because when we were in LA, we were also a mate of mine was Jimmy Bain, who was the bass player in Rainbow, and he was a fucking alcoholic and a nutter, and even he was going like, dude, there's guns here, guns, and we don't get it. We don't get it in the UK. It's like, you know, I mean, someone picks up a bottle and it's a shock.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you told about seeing Axl at that record release, but did you see Slash there? Was there another?
No, I didn't. I didn't. That would have been fun.
So I'm assuming you've just never seen. You haven't seen him since. Who knows if he even remembers that?
No. No, I haven't seen him since. No. But Lemmy told me, because afterwards I was going like, wanker, what a wanker he was. And Lemmy's going, oh, he's a really good kid. He's a really nice kid. You should meet him properly when you're both not drunken arseholes.
Nice. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, which is fair enough. Thank you, Uncle Lems. I say.
Totally. Did you have anything to do with him later on, or that was the only time?
Lemmy or
no, the Guns N' Roses.
No, after Adler's Appetite, I still keep in touch with JT. Steve, we saw Rocklahoma was the last time when we were kept 10 yards away from him by security, because he was just out of rehab, and we were just waving and going, all right, Steve. But he was clever though. He kept calling fans over, and when they were coming over, he was taking their pints from behind the back of the security. And it was like, hold on, I've lost you.
No, we got
but I've snuck,
that was the last time.
Drinks and stuff. Yeah, no judgments. I've done the same shit.
But we toured with Mike Thomas. He was playing with I think it was Bang Tango. He's playing guitar for. It was like a Chuck Burnell Productions. So it's like a Motown tour. Everybody plays with everybody else, sort of thing. We went out on tour with Faster Pussycat, she's Bang Tango, Enough's Enough, and it was basically one band with the vocalist, and it was like, bless. But that was funny and different. But no, that was the last time.
We've got new music coming up this year, which in the next couple of months, which hopefully by the end of the year, and then new album from you next year. Is it going to be pretty the same as always?
Well, you have stuff on Spotify too now. It's not fully released.
Yeah. It's just the singles out. The remastered version of Una para Todo es Bandido is out now. The Crazy Loco Loquito is out next month, 26th, I think, of July. And then the Greatest Hits, he says, album, 18 tracks, is out August. I think it's available to pre-order August the 8th. And that's got Gypsies, Tramps and Thieves are on it. It's a classic. And Living La Vida Loca. Living La Vida Loca has to be.
Cher and Ricky Martin covers. I mean, it's
yes.
I should do a podcast about that alone. That's
But
that's great. Any plans to do kind of what we're doing, except performance-wise?
We're supposed to. Well, I mean, there's been festival sort of invites, but the trouble is over here, they've got no idea when the festivals are going to be able to even go ahead. So even like the October, November festivals, they're saying, they are on, but a lot of bands aren't sure, and they're not sure how they're going to separate people or whatever. So I've got no idea. But next year we'll tour. It.
All right. Because I'm looking. It was today. I forget. It's happening next month. But Ringo Starr is having an 80th birthday bash with they're taping their own performances from their home, including Paul McCartney. So it's like it's so cool because you have all your eyes. Even everyone's gonna be watching Ringo anyway. But when you're performing live, no one's going out. Everyone's home. So that's why it's we at least have music to listen to. Everyone's running out. We're running out of Netflix queue.
Yeah, well, it's great for us because of lockdown. Mark, the guitarist, has got his own studio, so I've just been shooting over there, and we've just been we've got the album sorted. The drummer has been sending back his stuff because he's got a little studio in London. Funny thing, drummer like Vinny, Jan Vincent Velasco, I put out on all the press releases that he was the drummer in Ghost, and no one should ever know who the drummer in Ghost is. My bad.
I like it.
Sorry, Ghost fans.
That's smart. I like the cut of your jib. I like it. Sometimes I'll ask guests, especially with you when you have such a long resume, an impressive resume. Twisted as well, but just on paper, or the back of your baseball card. I'm a sports guy, so the back of your trading card. So is there one particular highlight or something that, I don't want to be as morbid as Mark and say put it on your tombstone, but is there one thing that, if you were elected to, the Gypsy Lee Hall of Fame, what would you want the jersey you go in? Well, what would you want? What's the most proud thing you feel like you've done so far? It's a lot to ask.
Other than join Golden Robot Records.
Yes. Well, that
was
the highlight. But I think it was when, I started when I was like 14. When we were like 16 years of age, we supported the Damned in a punk band.
Wow.
But the one thing that was a highlight was supporting the Ramones. That was freaking unreal. I'd never seen about like 4,000 or 5,000 people actually make a place move from jumping up and down. It was, and there were different things at Rocklahoma when you look to the side of you and you've got like, I love Vane. I love Davey Vane. And you've got Davey Vane watching you, and there's ZZ Top next to him. And then there's Tracy Guns over the other side. And you know what I mean? Steve Adler was there as well.
I don't.
You know what I mean? But those sort of things, it's like when you're trying to make it in a band and you're thinking like, shit, how are we going to do this? And it's a hard slug. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll, as somebody once said.
Sure.
Australian.
Yep.
But when that was like a moment when you go, oh, frick, we did something. You know what I mean?
You felt like vindicated, like, the people you admire, the people that you admire you. Yeah.
Yeah. And you even think, well, just for this show, they're watching us. And that was a weird feeling,
And I will say, whenever anyone like those typical fun questions when people ask like what artist would you see alive or dead that you never did, the Ramones is always the top of my list. I being a Jew from New York, now living in Queens, I grew up on the music and listen. Exactly. I listen to them daily.
They
were amazing. Amazing.
When we played with them in '93. Joey was in a really bad way, but it was so weird. He had sort of minders that made sure he got up the ramp to get onto the stage. But as soon as you heard that 1, 2, 3, 4, he was bang on, and it was boom. And as soon as the lights went down, he deactivated.
Wow!
It was weird, but it was for the time when they were playing, he was Joey Ramone.
Yeah.
Even though, and he was ill. He was like polio, didn't he? He had like loads of other ailments towards the end, but he was still doing it even then. And it was like, wow, it was
so cool.
Punk rock hero
to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
It's been interesting because we just signed through Die Laughing Records.
Yes.
An EP, a lost EP, so to speak, of Johnny Thunders. And, it's been, New York Dolls, and it's been incredible to see the reaction when we announced we're going to be putting something out, Johnny Thunders, and how many people say, wow, without Johnny Thunders, there wouldn't have been a Guns N' Roses, and there wouldn't have been an Aerosmith, and how it's really, really, he and the Ramones, etc., New York Dolls really shaped things to come. It was amazing.
Yeah. Oh,
how much a part they've got to play in it all.
Oh. Well, you look at it, it's like all the bands in London that came out that were sort of the glam punky bands, Hanoi Rocks, like all bands, Lords of New Church, all of that. They're all basically Thunders inspired.
Yeah.
And Malcolm McLaren went over, didn't he? And like sort of stole the New York Dolls idea and brought it back to London and formed the Pistols.
Have you seen that punk? I know it's here in Australia and it must be out somewhere else, obviously in the world, but it's Iggy Pop did a 4 episode series called Punk, and it really we were talking about it a couple of episodes ago because they interviewed Duff on it from the Farts, and Dave Dalton was talking about it from Die Laughing Records when we did something with Brando a few weeks back. I think that was our 200th episode, but that's really shows how, and just going back to everything you've been saying and everyone you've played, I knew you had quite a rich history and who you've played with, but I didn't realize it was that full on. And the good thing about you is you could be completely bullshitting and there's just no way we could check any of these stuff anyway.
No, well, No, you can.
You too,
How
Mark.
can we check if you fought with
There's this
Slack?
thing called the internet.
It's always the true, always true.
Uh,
No, it's awesome,
you,
Gypsy.
you get found out. I've not. That's what I've
Of
learned
course.
Totally.
over the years.
Totally.
No,
totally.
no, you're real. You're
No,
the
we
most
know you're the
gypsy
real
I've ever
deal.
met.
We know you're the real. Totally.
You're the most honest gypsy I've ever met. So
Totally.
Thank you, Brenda.
you got it.
You're the
This
most honest
was-
Jew I've ever met.
You have my permission. Oh, that's great. Gypsy, this was awesome. This was just a delight to speak with you. You're a
And
funny
you.
guy, and obviously your history, and I can't wait to hear what's to come. You're obviously you're still active, still putting out new music. So, when this pandemic does end, how much do you plan to tour? Do you plan on, will I see you live ever? Will you cross the pond?
I hope so. I mean, already, like, since we've announced that we're back, Rocklahoma, AG have been in touch, but it's whether I don't even know what's the money going to be for bands anymore, because Live Nation have already said that the bands are going to have to take the hit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
it's hard to say.
I don't know. I mean, we'll be out. Yeah, we will. But I think we'll do festivals, obviously. But I'd love to go back to the States. I'd love to play Australia, because that's one massive rock country that we've never got to.
It's actually just one big rock.
Yeah.
That's what we are. We're one big rock.
Well, I have listeners everywhere, and we're all connecting via the internet. So regardless, I'm excited to see what's to come from you and the Gypsy Pistoleros. So just thanks for your time, Gypsy, and Mark. Any parting words? Any updated slogans for your
no updated
before?
slogans, but I look forward to being on the next couple with you. And
okay, yeah, you got, of course.
As your sidekick, your Jerry. What did you call me, Jerry Stiller last time?
You're the Jerry Stiller of Appetite for Distortion.
Yeah, I'd rather you pick someone that's alive, but that's cool. I'll deal with that at the moment. But as we always say in the business, Brando and Gypsy Lee, rock and roll is always the winner.
I like that.
Like
how about this? You probably know the UK version of The Office. Do you know the American Office? Okay,
that watered down weird thing.
Yeah, the UK version.
I got to know my audience.
No.
The Friends version of The Office.
Exactly.
Well, you're Todd Packer. You can laugh at that or not. Anyway, so this was awesome. Yes, Mark, of course, we'll have you back, and Gypsy, we'll have you back as well in the future. So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. When will you see the next one? Whether it be with Mark or not. It's kind of like the words of Axl Rose. I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.
Thanks, buddy.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
Thanks.